What's up, everyone? We're gonna do a quick little video here. This is geared towards new players, either brand new or just like really recently into the game. The question that we get a lot on our channel over at twitch.tv/Arquado is, what should I put on my support list if I'm a new player? Now, new players aren't dumb. You know that you don't have like game-changing meta servants completely raised up. You know that you don't have a bunch of like skill level 10 servants or just like, you know, NP5s all over the place of any rarity, right? But you still want to like put a support list out there that shows like, hey, I'm not completely lost in the woods, and I would like to be helpful to players, right? So that being said, this is an account that came up today. This is someone who's new to the game but has spent on the game, and the question came up, hey, I don't really know what I should put on my support list. What can I put on there that's actually going to be helpful as a new player, knowing that like all my servants, they're low skill, I don't have the EXP to have them higher, I don't have the materials to ascend them and skill them. What should I put on there anyway? So this quick little video is just a brief overview and little guide to help you do that. First and foremost, your support list does not need to be full. It doesn't need to be full, all right? In order for people to get actual value out of your support list, no matter how new you are, it does not have to be filled. So what I typically recommend to players is to focus on three slots. The first is the rider slot, right here in between caster and lancer. In this rider slot, put Georgios. You'll get him fairly early on in the game, hopefully from early friend point rolls, but you'll get him pretty early on. Keep him at level 1 on your support list. You want him at level 1. He is more valuable to people on your support list or people taking him that are not yet your friends on FGO as a level 1 servant. And the reason is because of his first skill. It is a 3-turn taunt. Taunt means that he focuses all of the enemy's attacks unless they are AoE, which is not usually the case in part 1. He focuses them all on himself, right? Now, obviously, he's gonna die. Like, this is going to cause him to die because he's level 1 and he can only take so many hits past like Fuyuki before he's actually going to, you know, die. That's okay. A lot of players, even if they've been playing a long time, they might have NP5 SSRs left and right. They might spend a lot of money on the game. They might have been playing since day 1. A lot of players, and myself included, we still look for level 1 Georgioses on our support list. Friends or not. We still look for a good taunt on our support list with some of the CEs that we are going to show you, simply because we want to do a solo run. A solo run is where we pick one servant that we want to do the fight, but because of the rules of FGO, we have to have at least 3 servants starting on the field. One of them has to be a support servant. So what we do is we grab a very low level or weak servant, or a level 1 Georgios in this case, and we put them on the field so that they can die quickly. The reason we do that is so that our solo servant, our 1 DPS that we want to do that fight, can actually do the fight by themselves, have access to all of their own cards, not have to worry about where their stars are going, etc. So it's extremely useful to put a servant like Georgios on your support list in the rider slot with one of the CEs that we'll talk about soon. Right up front, I'll tell you it's called Battle of Camlann, right? So that's the rider slot. Next is your lancer slot. Right now, it has Utsumi Irichi right here. For yours, you can put Leonidas in there. A level 1 Leonidas. His first skill is, again, a taunt. His is only 1 turn, but that's okay because, again, he's probably going to kick the can anyway, and that's exactly what a lot of players are looking for when they go to find a solo support on their friends list, right? We just want him to be on the field and then exit the field. It sounds kind of morbid. It sounds a little bit maybe even reductionist as far as gameplay value goes, but it's the truth of the matter, and this is probably the single best way that you are going to provide some form of value on your support list as a new player. It'll get better over time. You'll be able to put all the servants you want on there. They'll have high levels, high skills. People will start using them. All of that will come with time. In the meantime, again, the first few months that you're in the game, Leonidas, Georgios, those are going to be two of your bedrock servants on your support list, and they'll occasionally bring you in some friend points, which is nice because you can do a lot with friend points early on in the game, as we'll show you with some of these CEs as well. Another one, Chen Gong, again, first skill is a taunt. His is unique because it's a targetable taunt, so there are some instances where people will take him for solo comps, and he will use that taunt on the DPS if there's going to be AoE attacks or an instant NP to start the battle type of thing, so that the enemy will continue to attack despite the fact that your servants have died. One huge mechanic to understand about FGO. This is true in about 99% of cases, though there are some battles where it's not true. They're very, very few and far between. I think I've seen single-digit number of them ever in my time playing this game. When a servant has target focus on them and they are killed, the turn for the enemy ends. That's another reason it's so valuable to have a Georgios, a Leonidas, and a Chen Gong with that first skill taunt. If they have the taunt on themselves and then they die, the enemy's turn ends. It doesn't matter how many moves they have left. Typically, it's 3 total, right? It doesn't matter how many of those they have left. Their actions are over with, unless it's a challenge quest gimmick type thing, right? That's really useful. It's really, really useful because it takes the fire off of your DPS for just one more turn more, right? The next one is someone that all of you will have from the very start. This is Mash. Now, Mash is a little bit different. She's not going to be put onto the field with a first skill taunt starting off, right? And you may be thinking, well, if she isn't going to be taken, why should I like put her on there, or why should I keep her in the back of my mind as someone to focus on putting on there? The reason is because of how good all of her skills are. All of her skills are very good, and so putting her on your support list, you don't necessarily have to, and she's not honestly on the level of these 3 when it comes to providing value to other more established accounts when you are a new account. However, she does provide value, and her skills get even better with time, right? She has a targetable, invincible, and a 20% gauge. There are comps out there that make use of a support Mash, not only for her second skill, which is a targetable invincible, but also because her third skill is a taunt, which we've been talking about. And this NP generation stat right here is the best in the game. It's the best in the game. So she's extremely good. She is one of the servants that you should focus on raising first, and because of that, it might be useful to put her on your support list, if anything, as a reminder to yourself, right? So to recap the servants, Georgios in the Rider slot, Leonidas in the Lancer slot, Chen Gong in the Caster slot, all at level 1. You do that, and honestly, you're going to provide a lot of value to a lot of different players out there who do come across your account. You're not going to be getting thousands of friend points a day like you will someday in some events, but to start off, it's a good move. It's a good move. When it comes to craft essences, right, so the things that are here at the bottom where you see these swords on this image, you're going to look for one in particular and a few others that are also really useful. This is Battle of Camlann. The way Battle of Camlann works is when a servant dies, they charge the party's NP gauge by 10% when it's not MLB, or 15% when it is MLB, which is when you combine 4 extra copies into 1 main copy to have it what's called max limit broken, right? It's basically like the fully ascended version of a craft essence. This is really useful even without it being MLB, as we say, because if I put Georgios out there and he taunts on the first turn, not only does he keep the fire off of my DPS, who I'm going to solo with, but he also provides battery and P gauge to that servant, and he's ended the turn because of the way the taunt mechanic works in the game. It's really useful. As you could probably see, there's going to be a lot of times where people will want that from your support list. So this is probably the #1 best go-to CE. If your support list as a new player only consists of Georgios, Leonidas, Chen Gong, and all 3 of them have Battle of Camlann, which you will get from the friend point rolls, Battle of Camlann, and all 3 of those servants, you're good for a while, like a long while, right? Additionally, there's some other ones that come up. Rito Temple has a 30% NP gauge start at MLB, right? So that's the 4 copies into the 1, so for 5 total. At non-MLB, it's NP damage up 10% or starting battle with 20% NP gauge. None of the ones that I am about to show you are on par with Battle of Camlann, except for the final one that we'll look at, all right? And it's hidden behind the gacha, so that's why we're looking at it last. But these are nice to have, and as you raise up your servants, these are good to look at, perhaps MLBing. You don't want to raise them up as far as like investing EXP resources into them, but they're nice to have at MLB, and they can go onto your support list as a new or newer player and provide some value, right? The next one is Jeweled Sword Zelrech. At non-MLB, 25% NP gauge, 5% NP gain rate. At MLB, it's 10% NP gain rate and 40% NP gauge. Again, not more valuable than Battle of Camlann. However, over the course of the first few months to 6 months that you're playing the game as a new player, this could be a very good option for you to use yourself. And so therefore, it might get MLB'd and end up on your support list anyway, right? Next one is called Dragon's Meridian. It says Leyline here. That's the Japanese translation. In NA, it is called Dragon's Meridian. Either way, it starts the battle off with 30% NP gauge. At MLB, that's 50%. It's very, very good for a friend point craft essence. Once again, starting off, you won't see this or need to see this on your own support list for Georgios, Leonidas, Chen Gong. But over the course of gameplay, I personally, as a very well-established player account-wise, still use this craft essence to this day. I have like 5 MLB scopes, and I still use this CE to this very day. It's extremely useful because it's low cost, but still gets the job done. So keep this one in mind as you are going through the game as a new player too. Last but not least, for the friend point side of things, this is called Parted Sea. It's evade for 1 attack. So one time that your servant gets hit, they will evade the attack unless the enemy has Ignore Invincible or Sure Hit on them, right? It also has a debuff resist. We're not super interested in that, but the one-time evade is really, really nice because someone like Georgios, specifically him, has a 3-turn taunt. So for 3 turns, all of the enemy's single target attacks will exclusively focus on him. Early in part 1, you are going to come across a lot of enemies who might need a couple of hits to kill Georgios, right? If you have someone on your friends list who needs this Georgios to tank 2 hits, they can have Parted Sea on that Georgios from your support list, have him tank a hit because of the evade here, and still be able to take the next hit. Typically, that's going to be in some boss fights or challenging content where an NP is going to happen, and then the enemy is going to attack again, or vice versa. An attack happens, and then the enemy is going to NP. Those are very few and far between. That's why Parted Sea is not on the level of Battle of Camlann, in my opinion. But it's probably the second best option to put on a new support list featuring Georgios, Leonidas, and Chen Gong, right? Last and most rare, this is called 500-Year Obsession. This is a 5-star gacha CE. However, for some reason or another, it's one of the more common 5-star gacha CEs that I've come across in my several months and hundreds of accounts reviewed here on our channel at Twitch, where we do support roster reviews. It seals the enemy's NP for 2 turns and inflicts curse for 1,000 damage over 10 turns when that servant is defeated. So mechanically speaking, the way that works is if I have 500-Year Obsession on Leonidas, when he dies, the enemy that killed him will have their NP sealed for 2 turns, and they will have curse applied to them for 10 turns. An interesting gameplay mechanic that your support list friends or people randomly finding you can make use of is Chen Gong has the ability to NP that will kill the servant on the farthest left if he's in the farthest right. If he's on the farthest left, it's the next one over, right? So if someone looking to solo brings their own Chen Gong with a scope or something close to it, maybe a mystic code to help bridge the gap, if they NP with Chen Gong, their Chen Gong, and they kill your Leonidas, who has 500-Year Obsession on him, or any of these other servants who have 500-Year Obsession on him, Chen Gong, as in their Chen Gong, has these effects applied to him. It's a very interesting concept. The first time I heard about it was from another Twitch streamer, great guy named Pheno Tyson. Please check him out as well. But what they found was that when Chen Gong killed a servant on his own team that had this CE on him, Chen Gong received these effects. That's very useful because it helps Chen Gong get off the field even faster. Also, it means that the person using your support servant can use Chen Gong's target focus on himself. It helps ensure that the field is clear for their solo DPS to do what they want to do, which is get to work by themselves, right? So keep these things in mind as you go through building your support list as a brand new player. Again, Georgios in the Rider slot, Leonidas in the Lancer slot, Chen Gong in the Caster slot. All of them at level 1. You don't want to level them if you're going to put them on your support list. You can keep a copy for yourself and level that copy. But for your support list, you just want to keep them at level 1. And you'll get, honestly, more friend points than you would any other way, I guarantee it. Is it going to be a lot? No. But it's more than you'd get otherwise. And it's certainly going to be a benefit to people who come across your account. Perhaps most important of all, as a new player, you are going to seek to add people to your friends list, whether it's randoms that you come across in the game or people in Discord channels, such as our Discord server has, right? If an established player sees that your support list looks like a Georgios, Leonidas, Chen Gong, and perhaps even plus MASH, instead of just MASH, they are, I'm just going to tell you from my own experience, much more likely to not only accept your friend request, but to see you as not someone like they could delete in a few days, right? A lot of times when players add the game, they download the game, they start playing the game, they get kind of lost in the woods. They don't really know like what's going on because FGO doesn't tell you a lot, right? That's why this video is being made. But you're more likely to be able to stick around on their friends list if you have these sorts of things on your friend list, right? Additionally, you're going to want to split your support. That's a different video. You can look it up elsewhere. But honestly, if you just do this, you don't need to split your support. If you have this combination of servants and CEs on your support, you're going to be kept. People are going to understand. So as a brand new player to the game, that is what you can do to shore up your own support list. Have yourself looked at a little bit more favorably by people who might accept your friend requests, so you have access to more support servants in events and things like that. Of course, you can follow other people to have access to their NPs, but outside of story, that mechanic does not work. So when you're playing events, you're gonna want those friend list requests to be accepted, right? That being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my community for talking through this with me before we went and recorded this. Check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/SharkWidow. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you there. Later.